your life sometimes to be there for a season. They weren't meant to be there always. Sometimes we find ourselves hooked up with people that we think are there for a lifetime, but they were only supposed to be there for us.
Meghan furious after Tyler Perry exposes her $45 million debt live at 2025 Bet Awards. Meghan once said Tyler saved her life. He gave her his $18 million home, his security team, and his loyalty. But now he says she weaponized that friendship and left him broke and bitter. What debt did she leave behind, and why now?
Now here's the tea behind the scenes. This speech didn't come out of nowhere. Oh no, sis, this was a long time coming. Insiders say the final straw was Meghan casually asking to borrow Tyler's private jet, as if it were an Uber. When he politely said no, not because he couldn't afford it, but because he felt used, Meghan allegedly flipped out. And that was the moment he said enough. People close to Perry started to open up, and the picture they painted, not cute. Apparently producers, staffers, friends, they'd all warned him. Meghan doesn't return favors, she collects them, uses them, then disappears. Tyler had ignored all the red flags because, well, he truly wanted to help.
Why did Tyler Perry give Meghan an $18 million mansion and never get a thank you? He offered her shelter, she offered him silence. What looked like generosity to the world was building into a debt nobody discussed, until now. In March 2020, as Meghan Markle and Prince Harry exited the royal family, they were without a security detail, a permanent residence, or even a stable US base. Then came Tyler Perry. He quietly handed them the keys to his $18 million Beverly Hills mansion. 9 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, fully staffed, and covered a $90,000 monthly security tab out of his own pocket. But here's where things start to twist. No public thanks ever came. No interviews mentioned his name. No gesture of gratitude was broadcast from Meghan's massive PR machine. It was as if the favor never happened. Not a card, not a gift, not a line in their $100 million Netflix deal. Why? Perry's team later confided that the emotional and financial load began to weigh on him fast. He had expected to feel proud. Instead, he felt erased. And Meghan, she moved on like it was owed. But was it? In private, Perry referred to the experience as the most expensive silence of my life. And insiders say by 2022, his staff had already begun documenting red flags. That silence would grow heavier every year, until the night he stepped onto the BT Awards stage. And what he said next wasn't planned. It was a release. What happens when a man known for kindness finally realizes he was never part of the story, only part of the escape plan? That unspoken debt set the stage for one of the most explosive betrayals in modern Hollywood memory. And what came next, nobody could have seen coming. He gave her a home, and she gave him history's coldest shoulder. But the moment Tyler found his voice, he didn't accuse. He revealed. And it all began with a single haunting line delivered on live TV that would change everything. But if it was just a favor, why did Perry feel so used?
Tyler Perry wasn't even on the BT Awards lineup to trend that night. But when Hollywood's quietest mogul took the mic, the room froze. He didn't name names, but his story, every line screamed Meghan Markle. Back in 2020, Tyler gave Meghan and Harry everything. His mansion, his jet, his security, his silence. But behind the scenes, it was never mutual. Perry later told insiders, the friendship became one-sided. She borrowed blessings like they were owed. He said, no thank you, no loyalty, just ghosted.
He never said her name. He didn't have to. One line, just 17 words, and the BET Awards went silent. On June 30th, 2025, Tyler Perry stepped onto the stage at the 25th BET Awards in Los Angeles. Dressed in black, he accepted a Lifetime Achievement Award. But what he gave back wasn't a speech, it was a reckoning. Some folks borrow blessings like they're owed, he said, but never return the favor. There was no camera cutaway, no audience reaction shot, but the internet didn't need confirmation. Within minutes, #Meghan began trending. Everyone knew it wasn't the delivery. Perry's tone was calm.
Your life sometimes to be there for a season. They weren't meant to be there always. Sometimes we find ourselves hooked up with people that we think are there for a lifetime, but they were only supposed to be there for us.
Even gracious, but the subtext cut deep. For 4 years, he had stayed silent. Now, without warning, he used one of Hollywood's biggest stages to break that silence. Sources close to Perry later confirmed that the line wasn't part of the teleprompter script. It was improvised, a final straw, one that had been simmering since 2020 when Meghan first moved into his home. By the end of the night, that 17-word sentence had triggered over 2.5 1.1 million tweets, dozens of think pieces, and multiple calls to Perry's press office from top-tier outlets. Not because it was loud, but because it was quiet, pointed, and devastating. And yet, it still didn't tell the full story. Why would someone as powerful, calculated, and image-conscious as Perry choose this moment to speak out? The answer may lie in a private jet and the request that shattered everything. The applause hadn't even faded before insiders started whispering about the jet incident. What should have been a small favor turned into a private feud and a public breaking point that even Perry couldn't ignore. Now, why did Meghan demand his private jet like she owned it?
Fast forward to today, and let's just say Tyler's had enough. No more fairy godfather, no more free rides, no more silent support. Tyler's not just annoyed, he's making it clear to the world. He feels used. And oof, the timing of this couldn't be worse for Meghan. While her PR machine is out here bragging about how she's raked in $16 million, 0 cents, since she ditched the royals, Tyler's on the sidelines squinting at that storyline like, wait, what? Where is my cut? And listen, this isn't even about petty drama. Tyler's juggling a
It was supposed to be a simple request, but what Meghan called logistics, Perry saw as exploitation. In January 2024, Meghan reportedly contacted Tyler Perry to ask for use of his private Gulfstream G550 jet, a luxury aircraft that costs roughly $6,000 an hour to operate. She framed it as a quick favor for an upcoming appearance in New York, citing tight scheduling and privacy concerns. But here's the twist. There was no mention of cost, coordination, or even courtesy. According to a source inside Perry's circle, the request came with an assumption that the answer would be yes. That's what shook him. For years, he'd opened his home, protected her privacy, and offered emotional refuge. But this felt like a transaction, one where he was no longer a friend, but a resource. When Perry politely declined, citing security schedules and fuel limitations, he didn't expect the backlash. Insiders say Meghan snapped. She allegedly accused him of being unsupportive, out of touch, and ungrateful for what she claimed was mutual loyalty. But mutual loyalty doesn't come with invoices. That confrontation over a jet wasn't about transportation, it was about realization. Perry saw the pattern. Favors flowed in one direction. The jet became a metaphor for every unreciprocated gift, every one-sided conversation, every phone call where Meghan needed something and then disappeared. And worse, that moment wasn't the end. It was the beginning of Perry discovering just how far Meghan had gone behind his back. Because while he was protecting her, she was using his name in ways he never approved. What Perry discovered next would feel more like identity theft than betrayal, because Meghan wasn't just burning bridges, she was building empires on his name. Why was Tyler's name secretly used to raise millions? He offered his name in trust. She used it in silence, without ever asking. In early 2024, Meghan began quietly pitching a new media company, one positioned as a global platform for unheard voices. The idea attracted attention, so did the name she allegedly dropped in private investor meetings, Tyler Perry. According to a financier who attended a March 2024 pitch in Santa Monica, Meghan implied Perry was a founding supporter and creative partner. That phrasing raised eyebrows. Was he funding the venture? Endorsing it? She never clarified. But what made it worse? Perry didn't even know. Word eventually reached his legal team through an investor cross-check. When they reviewed the slide deck Meghan's team had circulated, his name appeared in a section labeled Silent Strategic Allies. No permission, no warning, and most importantly, no involvement. Perry was livid. Insiders say he called it personal brand theft. Quietly, he began distancing himself, not only from the project, but from the relationship altogether. By May 2024, Perry's legal team had issued 2 informal cease and desist warnings, urging her not to use his name without authorization. Meghan's reps pushed back, calling it a misunderstanding, but the damage was done. He wasn't just feeling used anymore, he was being used, and that was when Perry made his decision to speak, not for revenge, but to reclaim his name. Still, what he didn't expect was that his quiet act of reclaiming would expose something even bigger. Meghan's entire support system was crumbling from within. But if her public defenders were once unshakable, why was Oprah, the queen of loyalty, now completely silent? What did she know? And when did she walk away? If Oprah was her friend, why did she stay silent?
Oprah, silent. Tyler, not tagging, not reposting, not even liking a post. In Hollywood, that's not a coincidence. That's intentional. And then, oh girl, then came that BET Awards speech. Tyler Perry steps up to receive his Lifetime Achievement Award. Huge moment. Everyone's watching. And what does he say? You can't build a palace on unpaid bills. Boom. That's it. No names, no call-outs, just one icy line that sliced through the air like a dagger. And honey, everyone in that room knew exactly who he was talking about. People started whispering that Tyler didn't just give them a house. He funded flights, staff, the works, and what did he get back? Nothing. No thank you, no shout out, not even a podcast mention, not one word.
Oprah Winfrey once stood firmly in Meghan's corner. Now her silence speaks louder than words. In March 2021, Oprah's interview with Meghan and Harry drew 17.1 million US viewers, shattering ratings and fueling a global conversation about the royal family. It was the interview that redefined Meghan's public image and positioned Oprah as her strongest ally. But by 2025, the warmth had cooled to frost. When Tyler Perry's speech went viral on June 30th, Oprah made no statement, no post, no public defense, nothing. According to Entertainment Insiders, this wasn't an oversight, it was deliberate. Industry chatter suggests Oprah and Meghan hadn't shared a private call in over 8 months. Why? The cracks reportedly began after Meghan attempted to leverage Oprah's endorsement for new ventures without proper alignment. A source close to Harpo Productions revealed Meghan's team pitched multiple unsanctioned Oprah-backed projects, creating tension. Furthermore, Oprah's business empire thrives on credibility and calculated partnerships. Perry's public remarks, hinting at manipulation and entitlement, were a risk Oprah couldn't ignore. When the BET speech exploded, Oprah's circle stayed silent, signaling distance. Not a single high-profile member of her team tweeted or commented in Meghan's defense. This was not the Oprah who had once championed her. Hollywood insiders viewed this as a warning sign. If Oprah, known for standing by friends through storms, withdrew, the narrative had shifted beyond repair. But Meghan's response to this silence made everything spiral faster because her PR team tried to fight fire with gasoline. And if Oprah's quiet retreat raised eyebrows, Meghan's desperate PR spin after Perry's speech turned the firestorm into a full-blown blaze that no one could control. When her PR machine kicked in, why did it all backfire?
Harry didn't just hop on a plane to London for some cute royal event or charity meetup. The man literally bolted. 1 minute he's in Montecito, the next, gone. Emergency exit, no press, no explanation, just up and out. And the reason? Oh, it's wild. It's Tyler Perry. Yes, that Tyler Perry. The same man who opened his mansion to Harry.
The moment Perry's speech aired, Meghan's crisis team went into overdrive, but instead of controlling the damage, they made it worse. Within 6 hours of the BET Awards broadcast, Meghan's publicists launched what one insider described as a full-blown counteroffensive. Journalists were offered early access to behind-the-scenes footage, curated interviews, and even a podcast rebuttal hosted by Meghan herself, but none of it landed. Top-tier outlets, The Guardian, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter all passed on the opportunity. According to a leak from a major newsroom, the offer felt contrived and frantic. One editor reportedly said, "It smelled like desperation, not transparency." On social media, the response was even harsher, and Meghan Exposed trended for 4 days on X, formerly Twitter, accumulating over 112 million impressions. Memes mocked her alleged entitlement. TikTok breakdowns dissected Perry's quote line by line, comparing it to her past interviews and inconsistencies. The most damaging moment came when BuzzFeed News published a retrospective timeline, tracking Perry's support, financial assistance, and Meghan's silence across 2020 to 2024. It painted a clear pattern. Help was given, but never acknowledged. Even fans who once defended her began to go quiet. Her team's aggressive push to regain control had done the opposite. It validated the very narrative they hoped to bury. And as the press pulled away, Meghan's inner circle began to collapse. Those closest to her, once loyal to a fault, started leaking secrets. But the most brutal blows didn't come from the media. They came from the people who'd worked beside her every day. People who'd seen what the public never could. Why did her own staff say gratitude didn't exist in her world?
Royal adjacent drama. Remember when Tyler Perry literally saved Meghan Markle's life? When the world was crashing down on her, headlines everywhere, royal doors slammed shut, and even the public turning ice cold? He stepped in like a real-life guardian angel. He wasn't just helping, he rescued her. He gave Meghan a place to stay, lent his private staff, and most importantly, he gave her what no one else did at the time: silence. No leaks, no gossip, just a safe haven. But honey, fast forward to now, the very woman he protected is turning on him in the most jaw-dropping way.
The press turned first, but it was her staff who delivered the most painful blow, and their stories all said the same thing: gratitude was never part of the plan. After Perry's BET speech, former employees from Meghan's inner circle began speaking out, quietly but consistently. A former Archwell Foundation assistant told the Daily Beast, "It wasn't a workplace, it was a palace. You were either useful or invisible." One described a culture of hyper-control, every email vetted, every meeting rehearsed, every narrative scripted. Staff were allegedly instructed never to speak to press, even off record. Loyalty was demanded, but rarely reciprocated. A former PR strategist revealed Meghan's team blacklisted multiple journalists for asking unscripted questions, including a New York Times columnist who dared to bring up Perry during a 2023 Q&A. Producers from the now-defunct $20 million Spotify deal confirmed similar dynamics. One said she didn't want collaborators, she wanted yes men. That same deal was canceled in 2023 after only one season of Archetypes, despite massive promotion and advance payments. Multiple staffers used the same phrase to describe her leadership: a place where gratitude went to die. One insider even shared that Meghan's favorite method of control wasn't yelling, it was exclusion. If someone questioned her, their calendar invites disappeared. Their names vanished from press materials. Slowly, they'd be erased. And this pattern, it didn't just alienate employees, it spooked investors too. Because while internal morale collapsed, external trust was unraveling even faster, especially when the money started vanishing, the deals dried up, and the numbers told a much darker story. Why did Netflix and Spotify suddenly start pulling out?
People magazine confirms that Harry and Meghan's deal with Netflix will indeed not be renewed when it expires in September. But the real juicy gossip comes from Rob Shooter, former executive editor of OK Magazine. Shooter's inside sources aren't mincing words. One senior executive says Netflix is simply not interested in a new deal and are currently waiting the couple out.
It started with a whisper, then a call, then contracts quietly vanished. By mid-2025, Meghan's empire was bleeding deals faster than it could close them. The first major rupture came in June 2023, when Spotify terminated its $20 million agreement with Meghan and Harry after just 12 podcast episodes. Publicly, Spotify called the deal underperforming. Privately, executives cited creative rigidity and communication issues. Then came the Netflix unraveling. Initially signed in September 2020, the Netflix deal was reportedly worth $100 million over several years. But insiders at Netflix told the Wall Street Journal that by early 2025, confidence had crumbled. Their Live to Lead series flopped. Meghan's animated show, Pearl, was shelved in development. Investors began questioning whether the royal brand still held weight. Just 72 hours after Perry's BET Award speech, Netflix executives paused negotiations on a new docuseries Meghan had been shopping, one centered around power, resilience, and ironically, the cost of loyalty.
We should perhaps, I'm not going to say hold hands and be sad together, but Prince Harry and Meghan's $100 million deal with Netflix is scrapped in yet another huge loss of revenue for the couple who are possibly about as popular as Acme.
Well, I think there's a collective sigh of relief. There's a sigh of relief from the royal family in that there's no more of these documentaries.
Yeah.
I think there's a sigh of relief from viewers that they don't have to watch anymore. But also,
Well, they didn't have many, did they, to be
but
fair?
also a sigh of relief from Netflix. They don't.
A tech investor who had committed $5 million to Meghan's media startup pulled out the same week, telling Variety, "We invest in clarity, not chaos." Meanwhile, multiple Archwell Foundation staff confirmed budget freezes, postponed hires, and project suspensions. One insider described the mood as financial triage. The dominoes weren't just falling, they were flattening the future of Meghan's brand. And yet, despite everything unraveling around her, Meghan held onto the image she built. But the cracks were growing, and soon even her fans would see them. Because when a brand built on empowerment starts showing signs of entitlement, the public begins asking a dangerous question. How much of it was ever real? If her image was real, why is public trust disintegrating so fast? For years, Meghan Markle was seen as a symbol of resilience, but now even her most loyal supporters are questioning what was real and what was manufactured. In early 2021, just after the Oprah interview aired, US polling showed Meghan's approval rating among Americans at 63%, especially strong among millennials and Gen Z. She was framed as a feminist icon, a survivor of royal oppression, a woman silenced and now reborn. But fast forward to July 2025, a Morning Consult poll shows Meghan's favorability in the US had dropped by 31%, with a 44% negative rating overall. In the UK, her numbers are even more severe. Only 18% view her positively. Why the collapse? Analysts point to authenticity fatigue. As more insiders spoke out, the once unshakable image of the misunderstood Duchess began to feel curated. TikTok creators stitched Perry's BET quote with clips from Meghan's past speeches, highlighting contradictions. Viral threads asked, was it courage or convenience? Hashtags like Nar Markle fatigue and Archwell accounts exploded. Even legacy fans from royal-focused forums like What Meghan Wore and Royally Obsessed stopped posting. Journalists who once published glowing profiles began holding back. Editors at Vanity Fair and The Cut reportedly froze proposed Meghan covers due to shifting audience sentiment. And in PR, silence means fear. No one wanted to align with a collapsing brand. This wasn't a tabloid takedown. It was a slow evaporation of goodwill. But when Perry refused to respond to Meghan's furious texts after the BET speech, the silence confirmed everything. Because in the world Meghan built, where loyalty was currency, Tyler Perry's final act wasn't a speech. It was saying absolutely nothing at all. When Meghan texted Perry in rage, why did he stay completely silent? The messages were long, angry, and instant, but Tyler Perry's reply was devastating in its absence. Nothing. According to a source close to Perry's team, Meghan sent multiple furious texts within hours of his BET Awards speech airing on June 30th, 2025. She accused him of public humiliation, damaging her legacy, and betraying their bond. Friends say the messages were emotional, urgent, and, ironically, filled with lines about loyalty, but Perry never responded. Not that night, not the next day, not ever. Insiders say this wasn't just silence. It was strategy. After 4 years of quietly watching Meghan use his generosity without reciprocity, Perry's decision to walk away was final. He was done, said a longtime friend. He realized silence spoke louder than any rebuttal, and the industry noticed. Studio execs began distancing themselves. Oprah's camp remained quiet. Even influential publicists who once championed Meghan's brand now avoided comment. In Hollywood, silence from power means one thing: you're being iced out. The deeper cut: Perry didn't take interviews, didn't cash in, didn't elaborate. His restraint gave his statement more weight than any tell-all could. Even supporters who initially doubted the story found the silence hard to dismiss. In the words of one Rolling Stone editor, when someone who gave you everything goes this quiet, you probably earned it. And just like that, Meghan wasn't just exiled from Buckingham Palace. She was exiled from the only circle that ever gave her a second chance. Even royalty can run out of second chances. The truth always finds its voice, quiet or not. Watch what happens next. It's already unfolding. Your next video is waiting.